Perhaps the most scrutinized line of Has Been Hotel is where Rosie calls Alastor an ace in the hole.
I'm just kidding. I know you're an ace in the hole.
A what now?
This wordplay has several meanings, most of which have been discoursed to death, but a very cool subscriber of mine brought a new one to my attention, and I want to examine it from all sides and consider its implications. If you too want to be a very cool subscriber, you can by hitting the subscribe button. Rosie calls Alastor an ace in the hole. This turn of phrase is a playing cards metaphor and means that someone is the most valuable card in your deck. Card games typically rank cards 2 through ace, though I can think of some exceptions where ace is low and others where deuce is high. Other games place the ace as having a flexible value, low or high, making it even more valuable to the player. Because aces are so valuable, they're a sure bet. You're going to win this round or this trick, depending on the kind of game you're playing. When you call someone your ace in the hole, it means that they are your most valuable asset, and that by playing them, your victory is assured. Alastor is Charlie's ace in the hole. He's helped her around the hotel for months as her benefactor.
I'm your guy, your day-to-day, your chum, your steadfast hotelier.
And in episode 7, he doubles down and gives her information and actionable advice. For a more thorough breakdown of all that, you can watch part 3 of my Alastor series or part 5 of my Charlie series. However, this turn of phrase has another commonly understood meaning. Alastor is asexual, and this line is the proof, more so than some other evidence that has been presented. There are other moments that hint at it, like his turning down Angel Dust's advances.
I swear, if you film me going at it with Mr. Fancy Talk Creepy Voice here, you'd be rolling in participants willing to stay at this tacky hotel.
Never going to happen.
And sure, this is what an asexual person would say, but it's what most people would say. Charlie's not asexual, and she responds very similarly to the flasher.
Touch my parts!
No thank you, I'm just gonna...
And to Valentino.
Such a...
no thank you.
So these reactions in and of themselves can't tell us who's asexual and who's just creeped out by being propositioned. This line, specifically the second meaning of ace in the hole, can, once we consider the context in which Rosie uses the phrase. She doesn't just call him an ace in the hole. She says this as a follow-up to a teasing comment she'd made about him dating Charlie.
Who's this you brought with you? Come now, Alastor. She's much too young for you. Oh, I'm just kidding. I know you're an ace in the hole.
A what now?
The context of Rosie talking about the prospect of the two of them dating and her using the phrase to negate the prospect forces ace to mean the shortened slang version of asexual. Ace. Charlie's reaction confirms this too. Look at her face at the insinuation that he and Charlie are a pair.
She's much too young for you. Oh, I'm just kidding.
And how she relaxes when she realizes that Charlie doesn't actually think that.
Just kidding. I know you're an ace in the hole.
This level of wordplay is incredibly difficult to translate. I am 550 words in. Imagine trying to get all this across in a single line of a language that doesn't have the same double meanings and cultural connotations to each of those meanings. It would be pretty hard. That is how the Italian version ended up insinuating the exact opposite meaning. I've gone through the subtitles for each of 26 languages and translated them back into English. Because of the wordplay, they usually capture only one meaning. 9 of the 26 languages just straight up call him asexual, and an additional 3 call him ace. Still more maintain the intention but put it euphemistically. In Indonesian, she says, "Just kidding, I know you're not interested in romance." In Norse, she says, "Just kidding, I know it's not your thing." In Czech, she says, "Just kidding, I know you're not up for this." In Arabic, she says, "Just kidding, I know you're not interested in sex." And in Korean, she says, "Just kidding, I know you don't care about holes." The euphemisms get a little less straightforward after that. In Hindi, she says, "I'm kidding, I know your intentions are not wrong," implying that he might be interested in Charlie or might be interested in someone, but she knows he's honorable with regards to being around young women and won't try anything. The French translation echoes this sentiment as she says, "I'm kidding, you're a rare pearl." In Brazilian Portuguese, she says, "I'm kidding, you're always such a mystery." And I'm not entirely sure what that means. Maybe she's saying that his romantic intentions are inscrutable, which is kind of in line with his not being interested in anyone. Finally, my personal favorite, the French-Canadian translation. She says, "Just kidding, you have the wandering hands of a penguin." This is an amazing thing to say. It preserves the meaning penguins don't have hands and are known for being exceptionally loyal to their partners. It also preserves the playfulness of the original line. Well done, Team Quebec. Some translators didn't seem to understand what they were translating. The Thai translation says he's genderless. I'm kidding. I know you're genderless, which isn't the same thing. A gender or non-binary is what you are, whereas Rosie's talking about to whom he's attracted or not attracted. In Hebrew, she says, "I'm just kidding. I know you're wrong." Wrong about what? Is she saying that he is broken or wrong for not being interested in Charlie? Because that's not the tone of the show. Still more translators went for the other meaning of ace in the hole. In Portuguese, she says, "I'm just kidding. I know you have a trump card up your sleeve," which is just another turn of phrase meaning the exact same thing as ace in the hole. In Dutch, she says, "I'm kidding. I know you're a winner." I want to stress that this is an extremely valid way of translating this line. There was a double meaning, and it's not right or wrong to preserve one over the other. It doesn't flow as well, in my opinion, because in one breath she goes from chiding him for being a dirty old man to talking about how he's a winner, but that's just the cost of translation. However, when you translate something, you should probably make sure you don't accidentally miss the forest for the trees. The Italian team latched onto the phrase ace in the hole because in Italian, Rosie says, "Joke, I guess you can still put it in the hole." Good job, Team Italy. That's the exact opposite of what she originally said. Or is it? When we return to the original text and take a closer look, she doesn't say he's asexual. She says, "I know you're an ace in the hole." Ace is a slang shortening of asexual, but it does have other meanings. We've already gone over the card game uses, but it's a versatile word in English. If you're an ace at something, you're the top of your field or you're unbeatable. If you're an ace detective, it means you can solve everything. If you're an ace pilot, it means you're exceptionally effective. It's also used in sports. For example, in volleyball, when you serve and nobody even touches the ball before it hits the ground, that's called an ace. So in the context of Rosie talking about how Alastor is too old for Charlie and then contradicts herself by saying he's an ace in the hole, the meaning could be more along the lines of, "Come now, Alastor, she's much too young for you. Oh, I'm just kidding. I know you're great in bed." In isolation, this kind of makes sense. She's teasing her friend about being a dirty old man and then softens it with a compliment. I could almost buy it if there wasn't one important piece of evidence to the contrary. Alastor and Rosie aren't the only characters on screen. Charlie's right there, reacting to everything. When Rosie says that she assumes Alastor and Charlie are a couple, Charlie makes this face.
She's much too young for you. Oh, I'm just kidding.
She doesn't like the idea that someone would think she and Alastor are together. Then, when Rosie tells Alastor he's an ace in the hole, Charlie's face relaxes.
I'm just kidding. I know you're an ace in the hole.
She's relieved that Rosie was just joking and didn't actually think they were a couple. Now let's imagine Charlie's reactions were in response to the other meaning. Rosie says, "Come now, Alastor, she's much too young for you." And Charlie gets upset that Rosie thinks he's too old and relaxes when Rosie acknowledges that he's great in bed. That doesn't make sense. She has a girlfriend. There's no reason she'd get defensive about people underestimating Alastor's sexual prowess. It's weird and doesn't make sense. So even though the meaning could kind of work in pure wordplay, it doesn't fit within context. It doesn't even really make sense for her to talk about him being a dirty old man and then pivot to how he's a winner like she does in Portuguese and Dutch. It makes a lot more sense, given the context and given how everyone reacts, that she means that he's not interested in her or potentially anyone in that way. This line is quick and there are several different meanings baked into it, but that doesn't obscure the fact that there is one core meaning that is most important, as evidenced by the way Charlie reacts to it, by the flow of the conversation, and by the way 17 out of 26 languages translate it. Alastor is asexual, and the more you scrutinize this line, the more clear it becomes.